Welcome back to the Moisture Farm, guys. So we are through another weekend of sectors and regionals going on around the world. It's been so cool to see all the results, all the people posting from being at those events. This is getting me really excited for Galactics. We've had a ton of discussion online about the meta and the state of the game, and there's this whole other element to these events that I know I'm super excited for when I go to Galactics, which are all of these promo cards and the play mats, all this exclusive stuff that you have to get at the event. And the way to do that is by getting event tickets, which are earned through competing in various events, whether they're on-demand events or scheduled side events, draft, constructed, sealed. Especially in Galactics, there's going to be a whole bunch of those going on. And so I thought it'd be fun for me to share with you guys my strategy on how I think I'm going to go about racking up a bunch of these tickets through a method that I have found effective in the past couple of weeks. First thing you're going to want to do is enter a draft event, either on demand or a scheduled draft event. Put yourself in a draft event somehow. And you're going to draft for Luke. I've found a bunch of success drafting for Luke Green. I think Luke Blue would probably be the second best way to go about it. And Luke Yellow, I think, is a close third. I like Blue. There's some options for you to get some restore in there and kind of stabilize the game for the Luke flip. Or if you want to play more tempo, I think Yellow also works pretty well. And you can kind of push across some more damage and have Luke just be like your big finisher. I like Green because it kind of sits, in that nice mid-range area where you can kind of be flexible depending on what your matchup is. But yeah, Luke is extremely strong in draft, and there's not a bad way to go about it. Obviously, there's some luck involved for this, right? You have to ensure that you can draft for Luke, which is pure luck, but he's a common leader, so you have as good of odds as any other common leader to open him in one of your 3 packs, or if it luckily gets passed to you from whoever's drafting the leader over. So if you have the opportunity to build Luke, I'll show you this most recent build that I did drafting for Luke, and which will lead into some gameplay of that deck. And I'll very briefly just go over, because I know I talked about building Luke for limited in pre-release, which was also really strong. So this is going to be a very similar thing, but specifically for draft, and how it is a pretty viable strategy to draft for Luke. Okay, so this video is just really going to flip through really quickly what I picked out for this draft going for Luke. You can see some cheap removal, piercing shot, and shoot down is super important. I do really like that restore fighter. The 4-drop resistance fighter that lets you deal damage to something equal to the number of space units you control. That guy right there, Blue Squadron, really good. Obviously, Red 5 on Luke is a crazy pull. Those A-Wings are great turn 1 plays. You really just, as packs are coming to you, fighters in your color. There's some neutral fighters too to kind of round out if the colors aren't really coming your way the way you want them to. Those K-Wings are super important. Flipping Luke onto a 4/4 Saboteur, it just becomes really hard to deal with. You can't throw stuff in front of it. You have to just find ways to throw damage into Luke, and that's just really not that easy. Prepare for takeoff is pretty nice. Worst case scenario, you just resource it, but a lot of times late in the game, you can go find something to play that phase to be effective. But yeah, it's a really simple draft strategy. You just have to go find those fighters, or not those fighters specifically. Just go find fighters, and it's gonna work out for you. Those removal fighters are great. The Saboteur fighters are great. Blue Leader is obviously an insane card. So I definitely did get lucky with a few of these polls, and the fact that no one around me was, hate drafting or drafting alongside me in this shell. But if you just go hunt these fighters out, you're going to have a decent time playing Luke. And definitely making sure you get a couple pieces of removal in there to help out and protect your stuff. I do have some gameplay of me running this Luke deck that I drafted. Sitting across from a Von Reg yellow here, so I'm definitely expecting him to try to push some pace and just kind of outrace me before I can meaningfully deploy Luke. Prepare for Takeoff is not my ideal turn 1 play. That being said, it's not horrible. I get some decent fighters in my hand, get to go up on card advantage, and the fighters that I do have in my deck are relatively cheap, so going up on card advantage means I can potentially start like kind of flooding the board without completely dumping my hand. So we'll take it. And that was a mulligan hand, so that was my only option. Going to resource 3 here. Obviously, with a couple more cards in my hand than my opponent does. He's going to start by using Von Rig's ability to buff Hux as he plays the Mist Hunter. And knowing that Von Reg gets to deploy next phase, I don't particularly want him to have that option in space to deploy Von Reg. So I'm going to play Blue Leader there just to put 3 into the Mist Hunter. And knowing that I can use Luke's ability to ping it and take it out so that he has no readily available targets for Von Reg going into next phase. He'll get to claim initiative after I do that. And we'll regroup. Going into the Von Reg flip with no vehicles on the board feels pretty good. Definitely want to keep, at this point, keep as many fighters in my hand as possible. Stuff like Attack Run, which I think you might have been able to see from my hand. Not particularly important right now. He's going to play the Speeder without activating Von Reg and without ambushing, obviously. And I'll just drop down the K-Wing just to kind of put that pressure on him. He'll spend his last 2 resources for a shoot down just to put 3 damage into the K-Wing. And I'll claim initiative. He'll get to swing in with Hux. And not deploy Von Reg. Looks like he's really trying to push that fighter. Realized I put in an extra resource in there. I might want to make sure that I am straight right at 5. Got the K-Wing with 1 damage left before he dies. Go ahead and swing in, and didn't realize until now that my opponent only took 3 damage from the K-Wing, which is fine. He'll take out the K-Wing with the TIE Dagger. He's going to buff the Speeder. Not super worried about that 1 point of damage. Obviously, I missed it. It's draft, it happens. I'll play the A-Wing. And he'll swing in with Hux. He's played that first order card, so he gets to draw. And I'll put red 5 on the board as well. He's going to put Von Reg on the ground speeder to try and lane dodge my space board and try to just go out under me. And like I said, kind of push that damage. Use Luke's ability to ping that speeder. And he'll swing in for 5. I get to claim initiative, and we'll go to phase. Red 5 on the board is a good sign for me. Oh, sorry, I forgot he plays the Crimson Dawn on red 5, knowing that that's my ideal target for Luke, which I have with a relatively cheap unit deck cost average in my deck. I have no problem paying that too, and just working with 4 resources. I've got initiative, so I'm not going to be interrupted in deploying Luke onto red 5 and having that be protected as a leader unit that cannot have the upgrade removed by card abilities. So we're flipping that on. And once Luke comes out, it's sort of a time bomb. He gets to exhaust it right there with the Space Skirmisher. Very nice play for him. It kind of reminds me of Anakin in set 3, where just if you're able to exhaust him for 2 phases, you're probably going to win. I'll play the Blue Squadron. I control 3 space units, so I'll go ahead and take out the dagger, which will protect my A-Wing. I'll get to swing in for at least 3. On attack, he's going to buff General Hux, get some more attack in. I decided to trade the A-Wing and the Space Skirmisher just to kind of really have that control in space. And even though his leader is, sort of dodging me as he's deployed on the ground, I'm definitely feel like I'm in a good spot to win the race, even with the damage deficit as it is. I've got initiative again, so Luke is for sure swinging in uninterrupted. And yeah, I really have no problem paying the 2 for Crimson Knight's my leader unit, Oh, I guess he took initiative that time. He'll play the Occupier. We'll swing in with Luke, and we've got Red 5 going here, so we'll deal 3 to the speeder, and then with Red 5's ability, deal 2 to it and knock it out. Definitely should have swung in with the leader from my opponent's stance, but, it is what it is, and now I'm really right back in this thing. He's going to play the Sith Trooper, really committing to the ground game and trying to go around me. Put 3 into his base to kind of knot it up. He'll attack in with, or excuse me, not attack in with, he's going to use Hux's ability to draw. Have not spent resources this turn trying to figure out what my most optimal play is. I mean, I have spent resources to keep my leader up. So I'm working with, I think, 5 resources available. I've got a ground tank in my hand, which is what I'll play, just to sort of pose a threat to that ground board, as I'm now definitely in a position where damage-wise I can start winning the race. That tank is more so just going to be a distraction than anything. I mean, if he leaves it alone, I'm just going to be able to swing in with it, no problem. But it puts pressure on him to not attack my base. He's got to stay on target in his hand, which he's going to pull out. Gets to swing in with that Occupier and trade into... Oh, no, sorry, he goes into base. So he really feels like he can start winning the race here. With my leader swing, I can just cleanly take out the Sith Trooper, which I will do. Using Von Reg's ability to play the Mist Hunter to buff Hux. And I've still got 8 damage to swing in the base, which is going to put him very close to being dead. And yeah, he just decides to scoop, knowing there's no way for him to stop Luke. And that's really what happens. That's how you deploy Luke as a pilot, and you just kind of win a lot of the times. There's not a lot of answers to Luke within the set. So go on to my next round. So after coming away with a win against a Von Reg yellow, now I'm sitting across from a Von Reg blue. And this is my man Cody sitting across from me, who I know is a very skilled Von Reg player. He's been playing Von Reg very well in our draft and limited sessions. So he'll get out an X-Wing token. I'll play a 2/2 myself. And with him playing a blue deck, he has no problems, I think, trading our turn 1 plays here to keep me from rolling out with my fighters and kind of snowballing my board. He'll play shoot down, so even better. Doesn't even have to trade his turn 1 play into it. I'll play red 5. Very well statted. Even obviously the ability is really good. But 3-4 in space with that ability, it's just good stats. He doesn't want to do anything with his X-Wing there. He wants to take initiative, flipping Von Reg onto the X-Wing, sort of try to protect things there. I've got, as you can see, a lot of events in my hand right now, including as well as the K-Wing. So I'm going to piercing shot his leader, which is a 5-5, I believe. Yeah, 5-5. Put 3 damage onto it, and it now puts him in a very tough position to where if he can't remove Red 5 cleanly, I can attack his base and get rid of his leader with Red 5. Very tough position for him to be in. Obviously, he has resources up, so he might have some answer. He's just going to play an event that gets him another X-Wing, and he gets to shield his leader, which works out pretty well for him. I will go ahead and pop that shield when I attack, and now he doubles down on his leader and puts the twin laser turret on it. With Luke's ability, I will go ahead and ping, knowing that he definitely wants to make sure he swings that in. He'll ping the Red 5, and then I'll take initiative. So the twin laser turret gives it an extra 2 health, and it's been dealt 4 damage. So with me having initiative, a swing from Red 5 does take him out. I also have a shoot down there, as you can see in my hand, which, if it makes sense for my hand, I think we're going into the 5 resource turn. So, yep, I'll go ahead and shoot down his leader, put 2 damage into base, remove his leader from play, which feels pretty good. I've been able to keep up, 9 damage to my base, 3 to his. Feels pretty good. He will piercing shot my Red 5, so I will lose that, unfortunately. I'll play the 0-4 that lets me buff attacks with my fighters. And then not really a whole lot of other answers in my hand, so I'll claim initiative. He's done a pretty good job of keeping my spaceport clean as we're going on to the Luke deploy. You can see I've got a blue leader in my hand, which I'll go ahead and pay all 5 for. Obviously, no ambush to resolve there, but just having that 5-5 vehicle in the ground arena completely messes with the strategy for dealing with Luke. And they're all expecting, that big spaceport presence. Puts another twin laser turret on, this time to a token. And I will play System Shock, which will defeat that upgrade and then ping the X-Wing. And he will, on the other end, play that 3-2 double shielded unit. I'll go ahead and flip Luke onto the blue leader. Big unit. It is a 9-9, I believe. 9-9 on the ground, so pretty nasty. The board is clean, so I'll get to use the 1-drops ability, exhaust him to pump 2 more, so swing into base for 11 and defeat the X-Wing token in the process. And this is what I mean. Just these swing plays with Luke are so hard to deal with. Your best odds at, playing against a Luke is, mirror matchup, in my opinion. Rio Blue also, or just Rio, I guess, in general, more particularly Rio Blue, I think does have some good matchups into Luke, because when Rio flips, it can be just as big of a unit that is as hard to deal with. So I'll put the tank and the Sentinel fighter in my hand with prepare to take off. He'll go ahead and swing into my base. 4 resources up. Spend them all for another K-Wing, which will let me dodge that Sentinel that he has positioned in space with that Sentinel pilot. And it's all just kind of falling apart for him. He'll take initiative. I'm tapped out. We'll go to the next phase. And he knows he's sitting across from another 11 damage swing from my leader, unless he finds a way to stop it. His response will be, after he resources, flipping Dengar. Just kidding. That unit's already piloted. So he'll play the Ground Sentinel, which will stop my leader. However, I do get to use my my one-drop guy to pump the Saboteur, so I will still get that extra damage in, swing in 6 to base, which puts him at 22. He'll swing into my base, taking me to 21. And I think I do just have to deal with that Sentinel. Because at 22, I can't just claim and swing in the A-Wing again, or the K-Wing again. Got to figure out my best way around it, cleanest way around it. We'll go ahead and just take out the Sentinel, which should put me in. Yeah, he scoops after that, knowing that there's nothing else he can put out in front of Luke to stop it. And that's what I mean. This is how I'm going to rack up these tickets, man, because it is just nearly impossible to deal with Luke deployed in draft. There's no answers in the set for it. There really isn't. So round 3, I'm going up against a Poe Yellow, which is a deck that, like, they do have a decent chance of just tempoing and winning the race. So I got to keep that in mind. I'll start with the A-Wing in space. He's got the 2-3 ambush speeder on the ground. So I do know that I do have to pay attention to how he swings in to my base, because if I just worry about my spaceport and building up those fighters, he might be able to just go underneath before I have a chance to have Luke out for a meaningful amount of time. Rafa's a nice turn 2 for him. Frees up a resource for him to potentially deploy Poe onto. I'll use Luke's ability to ping the speeder, and then he will move Poe onto the speeder. I'll quickly respond with a system shock, which does work because Poe is not considered a leader upgrade, so it kind of stuns that turn for him. And he does make sure to swing it into base. It now only has 1 remaining damage, or 1 remaining health left on it. And that System Shock being the only card I could play that turn doesn't look great for me not being able to fully utilize my resources, but kept some damage off the board. Put in another 3 to base. I'm sure he'll definitely make sure to get that speeder in before I can ping it away, which I will do. Which unit do I do? Take out the speeder. That's what I thought. He's going to make sure to swing in 3 with Rafa. I will play the squadron for all 4. And I will be able to do 2 damage to Rafa. So, nice way of keeping the fighters going and then also having a little bit more control of the board. I get to claim initiative after he plays the 5-3 Sentinel on the ground, which is a big unit. I don't particularly like it, and it's a vehicle that gets to be piloted, so definitely not cool. But I will play Blue Leader, spend all 5 for Blue Leader, and ambush that. He's going to play the Snow Speeder and ambush my A-Wing, which he gets to take care of. I'll go ahead and put 3 into base. and he will deploy Poe on the ground. I'll ping the speeder, or ping Poe actually, and then he'll put 4 into my base. And we will regroup. So he's definitely making an effort to stay ahead damage-wise. That speeder ambush into my A-wing was a great play for him. You can see I've got another blue squadron in my hand, which is not quite ready to come out. We are on the Luke deploy here. I'll go ahead and flip that onto the blue squadron. Now he's playing yellow, so he definitely has options for exhausts. But that pressure of deploying Luke is very important. He's going to pilot Frisk. That ability will not resolve because Luke specifically says that the upgrade cannot be defeated. So now I'm checking my math here, trying to decide what I want to spread damage to. But now I have hotshot maneuver, which is fun. I get to, because Luke has 1 on attack ability, I'll get to throw 2 damage at something, which I'll throw onto the speeder, and then attack with the fighter, and with Luke's ability, I will do 3 damage to the speeder, I believe, which knocks him out. So get to punish that piloting play a little bit. And then I'll get in the 3-4 restore fighter. He'll play the skirmisher, maybe not. Rethinking that. Definitely not getting the full utilization out of that. He'll go ahead and play it anyways. And I believe I get to hang on to initiative here, which is super important. Being able to swing in. I'll be able to just take out that skirmisher, no problem. And we will go ahead and do that. Skirmisher goes away. 23 damage onto his base. He's definitely got to find answers quick to either match my damage tempo, which is going to be really tough because I have a restore unit. Definitely has to find ways to slow me down. Plays the, I believe that's the 5-drop. He gets to deal damage to something equal to the amount of cards in his hand. So he gets to throw 2 damage into Luke. I'll go into base and restore 2. No, I might have missed the restore. Yeah, I missed the restore. Oh well, but he scoops regardless. That was actually a really close, we went to 3 games for that matchup, and it was very, very close. But yeah, Luke is just insanely hard to deal with. And if I get an opportunity at Galactics, I'm going to be really hunting those draft events to see if I can draft Luke and just, it just feels like free tickets, right? It's very hard to deal with Luke in Limited. So that's my plan. That's my strategy. I'm just going to go gung-ho on drafting Luke, hopefully rack up a ton of tickets and, grab as much prize wall candy as possible. That's my plan. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.